Hi, welcome to Math 6. This is Mrs. Lamb from Corporate Landing Middle School.
And I'm Mrs. Berger from Larkspur Middle School.
And we're here today to introduce integers to us, our first lesson. Our objectives are, we want to understand the definition of an integer, identify an integer, and create a number line with integers.
So perfect. All right, our learning target, because you know we love a target to reach later, is that I can identify an integer and place the integer on a number line. So, Ms. Lamb, what is an integer?
Well, I'm so glad you asked. An integer is a whole number. Its mathematical opposite and zero.
A whole number?
Yes.
Like what?
Like, ooh, I jumped into mathematical opposite.
That's okay.
Like a whole number, like 7.
Ooh, and its mathematical opposite would be -7.
And then, of course, we must have and include 0 at all times.
What about like 1,314,912? Is that an integer?
Actually, it is. Just like 428 is an integer.
Or like -77 is an integer.
Yeah, because its opposite would be 77.
Oh man,
All
integers are
these-
easy.
All of these are integers. But
wait, there's more. So if those are integers, what's not an integer?
ooh, there are things that are not integers. Ooh, it's not letting me write.
Stop touching it.
Okay, I'll stop touching it.
Okay,
Go, Miss
you're
Berger.
good. You're good now, Miss Lamb.
All right, well, things that are not integers. Anything that is a decimal. Now, a decimal has a decimal point. So, if I had like 6 point, and that in itself, that's an integer. But as soon as I add any number,
Just a little bit more.
just a little bit more, that is not an integer. I'll fix my D.
Nope, not an integer. Well, just like decimals, fractions are not integers. So, like 1/2, not an integer. -3/4, not an integer.
-7.0005, not
Oh, Ms.
an
Lamb's
integer.
getting fancy.
Getting
Well, we want to
sneaky.
get super fancy. Let's talk about mixed numbers like 2 and 2/3. Not an integer.
Wow, 0.6.
All right.
-3.2.
All of these
Something.
not integers. Whole numbers and a little bit more. All of that stuff in between the tick marks, not an integer. But there's one more.
One more. You want to take it or do you want
I'll
me to?
take it, but I'm going to change the colors.
Okay.
So, decimals, fractions, and
I
percent.
forgot about percent.
Not integers. So like 50%, because again, 50% would be 1/2, not an integer.
So you mean 50% is just like 50 out of 100?
100,
Which, isn't that the same as like 1/2?
which is not an integer.
Which is not an integer.
Crazy.
Oh, percents.
But,
Got it.
like in life, we have a bunch of rule breakers out there.
Yes.
So, which rule breakers might not look like integers, but really are? Let's see. What happened to my, oh, there it is.
There it is.
Okay, guys, it's fine. We're back now. All right, so some rule breakers. So if I have 5.00, that's real. It's a decimal, right? I have that decimal point. I have the 10th place, the 100th place. But those are really just placeholders because there's nothing there. So 5.00 would be the same as 5, which makes that an integer.
That is a tricky rule breaker.
That's a tricky rule breaker.
I can think of one that goes with your fractions. You know, sometimes they're top heavy, so we have like 3/1. Looks like a fraction, is a fraction in a way, but how many ones go evenly into 3?
Well, 3 divided by 1 is 3,
3.
which happens to be an integer.
Well, that there we didn't need. But yeah, 3 is 3. So there's another tricky one. Can you think of one? How about with percentages? I know there's 1%. One of the percentages is a
What
trick.
if I have like 100% of a pizza?
I
I
have-
have 100% of a pizza. I have one whole pizza. I'm happy with
So it's tricky. How about if there's a negative sign in front of it, like
Ooh.
negative 10 over 2.
Ooh. Oh, Mrs. Lamb, that's crazy.
Top heavy, so I have to think about it. Does 2 go evenly into 10?
It does.
How many times?
5 times.
5 times. And because we have that negative sign here, and we're going to learn more about the division later, that's also
continued.
to be, yeah, that's a negative 5. That's an integer.
Woo!
How about if we have a negative 1 on your side?
What if I have like a negative 13 and then I have that decimal 0? Integer, right? That's just a placeholder. So as long as I keep adding zeros,
Nothing.
integer. The
Nothing
minute I
added.
have another number, oh, no, not an integer.
Not an integer.
Crazy. Crazy
Hmm.
time.
I think it's time to practice.
Let's put, you know what we should do? Let's put these integers on a number line.
I forgot.
I love a number line. Number lines help us order and compare integers. Coming soon to a video near you. So, let's order
Can
and
I
put
start-
these integers.
Can I start doing the number line?
Yeah,
Okay.
you pick it, Miss Lane.
I'm going to start with 0 because that's a really good place to start. Then I'm going to think about everything to the right as I go up the number line is a positive number, and I'm just going to go up by ones because, of course, I want to show all of those whole numbers.
What's crazy is as you're going up, it looks like things are getting bigger.
So what happens on the other side? Is it the opposite?
It's the opposite. Because remember, these are mathematical opposites. So we're going to mirror it, but now I have start with negative 1.
Makes sense.
Now I'm negative 2. So as I'm moving left, I'm getting smaller.
Gotcha.
So remember, those tick marks are the integers, and all that stuff in between, those fractions, decimals, and percents, not
Not
an
integers.
integer. Now, let's practice.
Let's practice.
All right,
Ooh.
Miss Lamb, this first one's for you.
Thinking.
In our desktop review, question is 32 an integer?
And the answer is
Da da da!
yes.
Yes!
I could also write it as 32.0
Ooh, now she's getting crazy.
and 32 over 1. Only if I put a leg under it does that mean it is still an integer. Just one leg.
I like it.
All
I
right.
like it. All right. Now it's time for the hard stuff, which means I'm up. Is
Burger.
negative 4.5, and we're going to say it mathematically correct because I know
Yes.
I'm a lazy Susan sometimes and do the 0.5. So we're going to say negative 4 and 5/10. Is that an integer? Well, no, it is not because it falls between negative 4 and negative 5 on that number
So
line.
if you were to circle the one part that made it not the integer, what would you kind of say was the key?
Boom, this
Boom.
decimal, right?
The-
So negative 4, integer, but once I add just a little bit more, not an integer.
That word "and" gave you the hint that there was a decimal there.
It did.
It
did.
Okay.
All right,
Do you
in
have
our
another
very
one?
last practice one, we get to take turns circling the integers. What color should we do, Miss Lamb?
Oh, I like.
We got red, we got black, we got blue, we got green.
Let's go red.
Red.
Okay, I'm gonna start. So I'm gonna go with the one that I always start with on the number line, the 0.
The
Did I get it
zero.
right? Am I
Integer. You're good.
Okay.
I'm gonna go to the left and go negative 4 is an integer.
Now I'm looking at everything else. Oh, wait. Right next to the 0 is this really big number, 187. 187. That is an integer.
Yep, and let's see, I have a 55%, so I know that's not. 125%, well, percents no, except for that rule breaker 100. And then I have this little fraction over here, so I know that's no. Now I have these decimals. 53 and nothing, right? Nothing. There's nothing there. So 53 integer. What about that last little one?
That last one starts with the 0, but it's 0 and 584 thousandths. I had to think.
It's okay.
100 thousandths. So that is not an integer. That is
That's
not
summer
an integer.
vacation.
It is.
Catching up with us.
It sure is.
All right, so what should we do now? Well, we now know the definition of integer. So integer is a
mathematical, it's a whole number and it's mathematical opposite and zero.
So if you're still confused about how to put those integers on a number line or about the definition or identifying those integers, watch the next video on your assignment about integers. That'll kind of help clear up maybe some misconceptions. But if you feel like you're good to go, you're going to go back to your assignment where you clicked on this link and complete the practice portion for today. All right.
See you
Love
next
ya.
time.
Bye.
Bye.